morning.
Good morning.
So you all sound fairly lively. How many people went out last night and got drunk? Right on. I think the majority of the hands are people that aren't in the room right now.
Yeah,
So.
there we go.
How many saw a show? What'd you see? Gem what? Gem Club. And was it good? Fantastic. Then you have time to see. The rest of you can see it tonight. Anyone else see something? I know it's a little hard to see here. Yes, in the back. Hedwig, is it as good as everyone said? Absolutely, right on. That's my big lament this trip is I won't have time to see Hedwig. Yeah.
I know.
If you have we're going to just talk this morning a little bit about what happened yesterday and recap. But if you have thoughts or comments or feedback or reaction to what you experienced yesterday, just start tweeting them right now. We'll pick them up on the monitors here.
Yeah, it would be terrific to hear in particular what you left with yesterday. What were the moments that really got you thinking or that you'll be taking away with you? So,
yeah. We also we might as well get the housekeeping out of the way. I have not done this amount of housekeeping in a month.
Hey, how about ever?
Let's see, no flash photography, which you've been really good about. That's really nice. This is the moment to silence your cell phones and your devices and all that stuff, especially for the poor people who raise their hands next to you, being that they are probably hungover. Wear your name. Look, I have my name badge. I'm one of you. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't have mine. I know. I've been. Could you tell I'm a little subdued this morning? It's just not the same with you in big boy pants.
Big boy pants.
And no sandals, too.
And no
it was
sandals,
a double
right.
blow this morning.
No, but these are really, I like these shoes. Okay. Some people have asked, we've said from the stage that all the videos will be posted online. That does include the slides and stuff. They'll make a nice video presentation that cuts in the speakers talking as well as their slides. So don't worry about any of that. Thank you for the Twitter stream's been awesome, by the way. And again, the Twitter address is @AIGA Conference, and the hashtag is Gain Conference, and that actually Gain Conference is also the Flickr tab, which I have to admit I have not been looking at Flickr, unfortunately. Remember to tweet your questions during the presentation or directly after a presentation when we do Q&A. That's been working really well. We really appreciate that. Also, if you found anything, please turn it into Lost and Found. A couple of people have lost things. Already, some of it has been found, especially youthful aspiration and an iPhone. And I think that's it for the housekeeping.
Done.
Yeah. Yesterday, I can't hear from all of you, unfortunately, but I was really happy to see the kind of conversation that we saw yesterday, especially, yesterday was all about new skills and creative leadership and how to show up as a designer in an evolving world. Was also focused on redesigning conversations and we did a lot on redesigning organizations. I hope this gives you ideas on where you can insert yourself and with your skills into the world to make change. Today is a little bit different. Today we're going to expound out even further. This morning's all going to be about redesigning government, and then redesigning the economy and markets and redesigning the future and essentially redesigning society, which is not the normal kind of design projects that designers are used to getting, especially from clients. But increasingly, and anyone in this room that's an educator, increasingly these are the kinds of projects that we're giving our students, and they're taking to it. They are incredibly energized at the proposition that they could have a hand in using their skills. And Phil Gilbert did such a great job of talking about design thinking as a unique, important skill in the world. Our students and all of your students, I'm sure, are excited that their role is expanding to be potentially so influential in creating things that never existed before. What did you think? Well,
I found yesterday really fascinating because of the kind of dichotomy between the opinions of, what did Douglas call businesses? I went back and looked, extractive robber barons I wrote that down because I really like that. I want to use that again.
You're going to use that at school.
I'm going to use that at school. I'm going to say to my students, you extractive robber barons. At any rate, so we have one kind of very kind of pessimistic kind of view of what's about that it was, I certainly resonated with at various points in time. And then on the other hand, we had kind of the IBM vision that, well, 90% of the world's transactions already touch us, so what the hell, we can change the world. And Intuit with kind of their passion for designing with delight. And so there was the kind of good and bad, the corporation and their evil twin. And this question of which way would it go, right? Who's right and who's wrong? And it struck me as I was listening to it. Of course, given the world I live in, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, right? Well, why would you not be? It made me think of a line Peter Senge said one time when I was at a presentation. He was talking about sustainability, and someone said, well, Peter, isn't the situation too desperate? I mean, how do you remain optimistic when things are so desperate? And he said, listen, when the situation is as desperate as it is now, we absolutely can't afford the luxury of pessimism.
Yeah. Very nice. Nicely framed.
Yeah. So I think in part this question of what will emerge, will it be the good organization, or will it be the organization's evil twin that will destroy the environment versus protect it? And I guess in part that's a function of how well we do our work.
That's exactly right. Well, exactly. And I think that we'll see both. Obviously, let's hope we see more of the former and less of the latter. Sometimes it feels like we've had a lot of the latter for the last few decades. I was really struck by the passion that a lot of the speakers had speaking about their topics and what they're interested in. Specifically, sort of Lisa Solomon on one side, who had so much energy and passion around something as simple as, and yet as complex as, a conversation, and how can we make conversations better, and how profound that is, because that's essentially the building blocks of relationships, and that's all we ever really design, our relationships. And then on the other hand, you had the passion of Suze McCormack last night, who, I don't know about the rest of you, like I'm almost ready to sign up for law school. If law can be like that, someone stop me before that happens, but Susan will. But it was amazing to see someone with so much passion. It's always great to see someone with so much passion about their work, but then be able to talk about it in a way that makes it more accessible to us and helps us realize our part in all of this, and to some extent our responsibility. I know that through the arc of these 2 days, some of you may leave with this sort of increased weight on your shoulders, like now I got to worry about all of this stuff too. I have a busy life, I'm already sort of overworked, and it can seem like all these speakers are piling on, and then you have to do this, and you have to do this, and don't forget to do this, and sign up for this, and take on this responsibility, and oh, by the way, you've been ignoring this responsibility, and it can seem a little bit like a burden. I think that designers are fairly unique people in the sense that we look at challenges and we say, oh, wait, what can I do about that? Yeah. I can make that better, and it's an orientation to the world that isn't like, someone should fix that. It's, if you just change this here and put that there, this would all get better. So maybe we don't have to see these as increased burdens, but we can see them as increased opportunities. Yeah,
I think the thing that really triggered, Suze triggered for me, was this realization again of how incredibly siloed our thinking is. My thinking is. Right? Here we sit next to one of the best law schools in the country at UVA Law. And we do an incredible amount of work on business ethics at the Darden School where I am, particularly on stakeholders. So we spend a lot of time. I just finished a paper on how design thinking can help us with the stakeholder management process, and why I think it's such an incredible opportunity to take diverse stakeholders with different perspectives and put them in a process where we can begin to develop the kind of understanding of each other for breakthrough solutions. Did it ever occur to me to walk next door to the law school to think that what they're doing there might be relevant, might be a completely different approach? Never once. And we share a lunchroom with the law school faculty. And I don't think any of us ever had. And I walked away thinking, wow, an opportunity right there in front of me. all of us talking about, getting out of our box and thinking creatively and working across functions and boundaries. And here I am missing a giant opportunity to do something that would further something I'm really curious about, right under my nose. So it was an incredible lesson for me on many levels.
That's good. Someone just tweeted, this is awesome, that not only did they have an incredible experience, which I'm really grateful for, but they're talking about how impressive the audience, how impressive you are as not just creatives, but also creative thinkers. So give yourselves a hand for showing up and being so awesome. The other word that they said, the one word takeaway that they tweeted to us was generative, which I think is an awesome word.
It's such an awesome word. I hope nobody screws it up.
Someone's going to TM it.
Yeah. I'm afraid it's going to go right behind lean. We're not allowed to lean in anymore.
Right,
We can't pivot.
right.
We can't do, their generative's probably, exactly. Generative's probably next.
Well, and then...
so let's keep it our word. Can we agree on that? It should be our word.
But don't overuse it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Save it.
And then one of the other themes that this tweeter is reminding us of, which was not intended at all in the design of the conference, was like humanism and robots, not versus robots, but and robots. And that came out a couple times yesterday in some of the speakers. It's going to come up again today, I think, because we actually have a zombie hunter presenting later on in the day.
Yeah.
I kid you not. And he's a big fan of robots as well. So humanism I'm grateful that humanism as a theme has emerged so strongly yesterday and will continue today, because we're not, what are we if not humans, and what are we as a designer if not people who create things for other humans? So
I think the other thing that I'm hoping we'll get a chance to talk about today, and it relates to robots, I think, but we talked quite a bit yesterday about this notion of the rise of the creative class. I mean, we know that as scary as the robot discussion is and all of that, that the people who are going to be most protected from that are the people who do the kind of work that we do, kind of the learning work, the creative work, all of that. What scares the heck out of me is that we already know we have such a fundamental income inequality problem, and that all this robot stuff seems to be most likely to hit the people who are already most disadvantaged. So when we talk robots, in some ways it's, whoa, aren't robots a great opportunity to make the work we do even more valuable? And what's the solution for everybody else?
Yeah.
And how do we bring them along with us? And so hopefully some of our speakers today will have a chance to share some thoughts on that, because that to me is the real downside that we worry a lot about these days at the business school, with the increasing notion that work that is routine will go away, and then what will happen to the people who do that work today?
And that's a double-edged sword, I think. I think there are some jobs that humans should not be doing. Coal mining, nobody should have to ever be a coal miner. But there's a lot of work that we find gratifying, even that are simple handwork that probably robots can do. Some people like doing the dishes because it gives them sort of a satisfaction at the end of the day of, things being neat, that we also may lose in the process here. This morning, we're going to start right off the bat with this idea that policy is designed. It's always been designed, but we've never taken a designerly approach necessarily, or our community's never really gotten that involved with policy. And civic innovation is an important place for us as designers to be intersecting and getting involved with. We often hear the phrase, especially election time, that government needs to run more like a business. And it always kind of confuses me and makes me curious, because which part of the business are you saying government should be more like? Because for every Apple and Tesla and Nike and P&G, there's a WorldCom and Enron, whatever. And we can't just make blanket statements and expect anything productive to happen. It's when we get involved, and this is again another opportunity for designers, when we get involved with designing policy, then we can ensure that something's Apple and not an Enron, or make sure that it serves us in a way that some good company does, and not in a way, or like Red, what we saw yesterday, rather than something that just extracts more value from us.
True. I'm looking, we have one more comment. I think that someone said that Lisa K. Solomon made me want to be a better creative thinker. yesterday, and there was a story Lisa told me backstage that when I was asking her how I should introduce her, and she said the comment she was proudest of that any student of hers ever shared was that she made innovation more concrete than accounting.
Yeah.
Right? And at one level, well, I mean, put aside the dig on accounting. There have been several I've noticed along the way. But put aside that, what's amazing, though, is that when you think about it, there is never anything concrete about accounting. I mean, numbers are made up. We run businesses based on this crazy, completely fantastical system thing we've made up with numbers, and we put them in orders in different ways, and we call them balance sheets and income statements and debits and credits and all that. But actually, any human being is so much more concrete than a number ever was. It's been this kind of crazy sleight of hand that somehow all this really weird abstract stuff started getting called the concrete stuff.
Yeah.
And the human being stuff started getting called the abstract, weird,
irrational.
I mean, it's somewhere there was a very odd shift in the world, and maybe this is our chance to get it back.
Well, so I know we have to move on, but I have to share a quick story because literally the first hour of business school for me was an accounting class, and I was, people were having a little bit of trouble with the math, so I'm sort of searching ahead, and I really wanted to see, where's design on the balance sheet? I'm a designer, right? I want to see where I live here in this world, and it's nowhere. And so I'm searching through all the categories.
I actually think it's an unamortized asset.
Well, I don't know. Usually it's treated as an expense, not an asset. Yeah. And that's the first thing I realized. I'm looking at all the categories of assets, and it's not really there. It's treated as an expense. And that was the moment that I realized, oh, this is the great divide, because we as designers are running around, thinking we have a little halo over our heads because we create value, and we create it out of nothing, right? We're literally given blank pieces of paper, and we make these incredible things, and we think that that's really valuable. That's an asset. And a lot of the folks that we deal with, a lot of our peers, we're an expense. They're trying to, improve their profitability, and we're seen in this category, and it was never apparent to me before. And one of the board of trustees and one of the advisors to my program at our school, Ann Morehauser, who was a glass blower that became an incredibly successful businesswoman, she came up to me after the first presentation to our board about creating this thing called a Design MBA, and she came up and said, when I graduated the school, I didn't know the first thing about business, and I was afraid of accounting, but I've learned over time that accounting's a design tool. I get to play with numbers and sort of try things out. She uses her balance sheet and her income statements as a prototyping tool. Well, what if I put more money here? What if I did this? How's it going to come out? And that was a revelation for me that, oh yeah, there's nothing we should fear of accounting. It's a little bit different language than we're used to, but it's a tool and a prototyping tool just like any others. So with that, we should probably move on to our first speaker.